Hello, folks, everybody who's online. This is Ashley talking. Can you hear me talking to you?
speaking, you run and we'll feel alright. We'll feel alright, cause we'll work it out. Yeah, we'll work it out. And I'll be doing this if you ever doubt. Till the love runs out, till the love runs out. I'll be a ghost, you gain, you stadium. I'll be a 50,000 clapping like one. And I feel alright, and I feel alright, cause I worked it out. Yeah, I worked it out. I'll be doing this if you ever doubt. Till the love runs out, till the love runs out. I got my mind made up, and I can't let go. I'm killing every second till it saves my soul. I've been running till the love runs out, till the love runs out. And we'll start a fire, and we'll shut it down till the love runs out, till the love runs out. There's a maniac out in front of me, got an angel on one shoulder and Mephistopheles. But mama raised me good, mama raised me right. Mama said, do what you want, say prayers at night. And I'm saying them, cause I'm so devout. Till the love runs out, till the love runs out. Yeah, got my mind made up, and I can't let go. I'm killing every second till it saves my soul. Hey, I've been running till the love runs out, till the love runs out. And we'll start a fire, and we'll shut it down till the love runs out, till the love runs out. Oh, we all want the same thing. Oh, we all run for something. Oh, for God, for faith, for love, for hate, for gold and rust, for diamonds and dust. I'll be your light, your match, your burning sun. I'll be the bright and black that's making you run. I got my mind made up, and I can't let go. I'm killing every second till it sees my soul. I've been running till the love runs out, till the love runs out.
They'll get to sit next to you, please.
Yeah, man.
Yes, thank you.
Are we short a chair? Very much.
Where to put it? I just put it. Where did you put it?
Where to put it, really? Oh, where to put it?
Hello? Yes, it's live. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Yvonne Schwab, ACG Silicon Valley's CEO. We are super excited to welcome you here tonight for our event, AI in Action, Real World Uses. First off, a huge thank you to our host, Microsoft, for having us here tonight at their beautiful Silicon Valley campus. And then, of course, also to our catering sponsor, Icera. So thank you, we truly appreciate it. If you are new to ACGSV, we are the leading business-to-business networking organization in Silicon Valley, predominantly made up of CEOs and senior-level executives. Because of this distinction, ACG Silicon Valley is able to offer exclusive programming to our executive community. With our monthly panel discussions, which address a different thought-provoking topic each time, plus our 8 circles focused on various industries and verticals, we provide an array of networking, thought leadership, and growth opportunities. We are one of 60.
Whoa.
Yes. We are one of 60 chapters across the world with over 15,000 members, offering local connections with a global reach. Now, just a quick mentioning of our events that are coming up. On August 30th, our Global Economic Circle is hosting a discussion on the global shift, making the most of cross-border M&A in 2023 and beyond. On September 21st, our monthly panel discussion will focus on a little late mid-year capital outlook. Then on October 4th, we are hosting a wine tasting networking mixer in collaboration with our ACG San Francisco chapter. And on October 5th, our M&A circle will share the superpowers of private equity with us. For all of our upcoming events, please visit acgsv.org and register early, please. Now let's get started. I would like to introduce you to our moderator today, Ken Miller, General Manager, Microsoft Solutions at Microsoft. Ken is a 20-year veteran at Microsoft and has been engaged with emerging technologies throughout his career. Since 2010, Ken has been focused on the Azure platform and has played a key role in building the multi-billion-dollar Azure business into what it is today. I will let him tell you a little bit more about himself, so please welcome Ken and enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you, Yvonne. Great intro. You kind of stole all my introduction, so I don't know what I'm going to say now, but don't fact check anything Yvonne just said, by the way, because I'm not sure how much of it is still factually correct. No, in all seriousness, it's great to be here tonight. Really appreciate everyone coming out. This is my first ACG event. It's great. I met a lot of great people earlier tonight, kind of over the cocktail hour, and really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, especially among this panel. As Yvonne said, I've been at Microsoft now for about 20 years. Started out back in 2002. And, as Yvonne said, I was working on the Azure platform in 2010, but I will tell you that nothing compares to where we are today with kind of the AI opportunity. It's just kind of nonstop talk, discussion, interest from our customers. The engagement is literally every day, multiple times a day. Customers want to learn more, they want to hear more, they want to spin up applications. I really think that it is really an incredible opportunity that will obviously be here for many years into the future. Satya talks about the AI opportunity. He compares it to where cloud computing was in 2008, where no one really knew what cloud computing was except engineers that were focused on it, working on it, et cetera. And I feel like that's where we are today with AI. It's like everyone, my parents talk about AI, right? Everyone that you run into, whether it's an Uber driver, your parents, friends, relatives, everyone wants to have an AI conversation, which is very different, quite honestly, than what we've seen with other emerging technologies that have popped up over the years, be it the metaverse or any other concepts, right? It feels like AI is here to stay. I've got a lot to learn. I know that AI has been around for many years, right? You talk to people that are deep in the space, they'll say, well, this isn't really anything new. We've been focused on machine learning and AI for many, many years. But it feels to me, I don't have a deep technology background, quite honestly. It's more kind of on business development, sales, relationships type stuff. But it feels to me like we've been on this journey now for a very short time, 6 or 8 months, quite honestly, right? And again, I acknowledge that it goes back many, many years, but just kind of all of the announcements that have been made, the partnerships that have been announced, the new companies that have popped up. It's been an incredible journey in a very short amount of time. So I really appreciate the opportunity tonight to work with these folks, the other panelists here, to learn more about what is top of mind and how they're thinking about the AI opportunity. So Fleming, now that I've introduced myself, why don't we start with you? Maybe brief intro, who you're with, and kind of company AI strategy or what's top of mind.
Yeah, definitely. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I actually joined the company Barracuda Networks in 2004. So that time we actually started working with AI in some ways. But if you think about it, AI actually started in 1956, right? So all the scary movies, Hollywood made it look very hostile at times. But generally, when we started, we used something called Bayesian to actually identify what's spam, what's ham. You've probably seen Barracuda's T-shirts that we eat spam, and a lot of that has been done through classification of known good emails versus known bad emails, right? So, but generative AI that zoom all the way into what we are right now, it's super enabling for not only for our products, but for just in general, getting our people up to speed, new hires, getting to understand all the jargons in cybersecurity. By the way, yeah, but I forgot to make the intro. Barracuda Networks is in cybersecurity. So if you're out there seeing our logo, it's because we're out there defending a lot of customers. And in many ways, back to what we're talking about today, it is an interesting field because cybersecurity, I would say we're kind of losing to the bad guys, because if you look at how many job openings right now around the world, it's about 3.4 million jobs open related to cybersecurity. In US alone, 750,000, right? So that said, we have to find ways to actually identify resources to actually give us advantages against the bad guys. So I will probably be talking about that. And I'm excited about generative AI because now you can personalize some of the capabilities as well as getting your workforce trained better. I will touch on that in a little bit.
Love it. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great intro, Fleming.
My name's Haley Tabor, and I'm the Vice President of Global Industries for Dell Technologies. I have the opportunity to manage and lead teams around the world on vertical specialties, so from healthcare life sciences through to manufacturing, retail, and energy. And we spend a lot of time with customers and business buyers that are looking at how to evolve, transform, grow their business, change their customer experience, and we see AI playing a big role in that. I also have an opportunity at Dell to work for a company that our top mission is to create technologies to improve human progress. And we believe from the top of our company down that AI and advanced technologies is a way that's going to do that. So we're taking this very seriously in our roadmaps for our storage portfolio, our servers, our compute, and our desktop and client products. So really excited to be here. I'm going to pass to my friend who I've known for many years, Carlos.
Thank you, Haley. My name is Carlos Escapa. I'm a global lead for AI ML at Amazon Web Services. I work with projects all around the world. And today I would like to tell you that I feel that I'm more representative of the AI community, of which I have been a member for 4 or 5 years and in different projects. Before AWS, I was at Meta on the PyTorch project. And I spend a lot of my time actually talking about AI with people that are not technical. I'm a guest lecturer in business schools at Berkeley Haas, Instituto de Empresa in Spain, ESADE also. I also, whenever I have an opportunity, I present to high school children as well. I like to do it, and I think it is an important thing to do. It's something I would invite everybody to do as well. It is definitely an exciting space. I worry much more about data than about AI. At the end of the day, what we're doing is we're fitting functions. It's just a mathematical way of describing what we do in AI. So we actually get a probabilistic response from these models. And I think that sometimes we expect the models to do something that are not built or designed to do. And therefore I have in me, if you will, the vocation to explain that, to make sure that people don't get disoriented, and particularly that we keep expectations in check. I worry about the fact that in the Western world, there's a negative perception of AI. This is very clear. Surveys are showing, and the vast majority of Western countries, there's a negative impression of AI and the negative outlook on what that could mean to the average citizen. And it's very interesting that the same polls in China, in Saudi Arabia, in Peru, actually show a much larger percentage of the population, actually a majority of the population positive about it. So, all told, no lack of, there's not a boring day in my life, I feel like.
Awesome. That's great.
We do.
Love the investment too in high school kids. That's super cool. I agree with you. It's something we should all be doing more of, for sure. Udo.
All right. Good evening, guys. You're all ready for the good debate here? You want this debate to be like the president debate yesterday? Show of hands. How many people want a debate like that?
I do. Yeah.
I love that spirit. All right. My name is Madhu Sudhakar. I am a co-founder, CEO of Isera. We are a 5-year-old startup right in Palo Alto. And we started the company doing the AI when nobody was talking about ChatGPT. So what we do is think of ChatGPT for enterprise, making it offer a full ChatGPT solution for enterprise in terms of security, trust, reliability, scalability, high performance, eliminate as much hallucination, the probabilities that Carlos is talking about, right? So the solution is both available as a chat solution on a digital. It's available on the voice side. It's also, the goal is not just GPT, you want to be a co-pilot. We're very good friends with Microsoft. I'm really thrilled. I mean, the company I really admire a lot is Microsoft. They really changed the whole world with OpenAI, right? So in terms of that, we offer a Isera GPT solution. We also have an AI Copilot solution, right? We also offer a build your own LLM solutions, right? The world has changed a lot in the last 6-9 months. I've been doing this for the last 5 years, right? First few years when people were asking about AI, in those days it's called conversational AI. You guys know conversational AI? Have you heard about that? Right? So now this people call it GPT solution. It's a transformer models, but the whole idea there is people want solutions to either reactively answer your questions, also take actions on it, right? It's not about solving your problem. It's actually want you to install something. It wants you to do an automation. It wants you to do a process automation, workflows. And also it wants to be co-pilot. Co-pilot will be really a virtual assistant for you. It'll tell you, Mr. Ken, ask this person this question next, or do this job, right? Telling you who to invite. You really, the world will change with Microsoft work that they're doing and we are doing. We are the AI co-pilot with Microsoft in variety of properties, whether that is in Teams, whether that's in Microsoft Graph, whether it's Microsoft Office, or it could be in GitHub. Our goal is to offer AI co-pilot to individual users at the end of the day. Become a true version. We also work with my friend here, which is ServiceNow, right? ServiceNow is a ticketing system. You have Salesforce is the ticketing system, right? If you look at our Workday. So we try to provide as much of this automation so that people don't, humans should not be opening up, doing things manually. Anywhere with there's a mundane task, I want to automate those so that we elevate the humans. We want to improve the cost of living for humans. We are all here to improve the quality of life and make money for people. The purpose of AI in America is create new jobs. You talk about high schools, colleges. People shouldn't be writing the code, mundane tasks. Gen AI is going to write the codes and workflows, right? Writing the knowledge article should not be done with humans. How many people wake up and say, I want to write a knowledge article? Raise your hands. Anybody wants to do it? How many people want to write the code? Nobody. See, you're in Silicon Valley, nobody wants to write the code, Ken.
I know, it's amazing. I mean, I'm not, yeah, I don't like code. So
I like coding.
you still like code?
Yeah.
Carlos?
You didn't raise your hand. Now you're raising it.
That happened last night too.
Exactly.
I've never written a line of code. That may surprise you, but it's the truth.
That's okay. You are a sales guy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You make money and write the code. Only two things matter.
Make money.
Not build the product.
Yeah. All right,
But
beautiful. Great intro. Love the shoes too, by the way.
good. Isra.com, guys. Everything is red color.
I love it. All right, Ravi.
Yeah, Ravi Krishnamurthy. So like my friend mentioned, I'm at ServiceNow. I've known him since college. Just like kidding me here. So I've done whatever like data, AI. I did computer vision, video processing for my PhD for 30 years ago. So long time. So I've been doing this for a long time. But something is new now. It's just kind of suddenly it's now in the consciousness everywhere. It's in the water everywhere, right? Instead of something in a corner. Fantastic. At ServiceNow, I run a team that is called either AI Foundations or AI Accelerators, depending on who you ask. I really enable all of that. So ServiceNow is a workflow platform. We want all the workflows to be more and more intelligent. So how do we make, so for us, it's not just the best AI, it's the best AI in the context of a workflow. So some of the things we do as an enabler, for example, we built a controller that lets customers connect to external APIs like Azure or OpenAI, and then embed them in different workflows. And then we provide some orchestration layers above that to help them orchestrate the workflows. Other things for use cases that are very specific to us, we build purpose-built LLMs. So I run that LLM ops. We're an enterprise company, so responsible AI, security, compliance. How do we manage customer data with trust? That also comes under my ambit. So running that platform is also mine. Very passionate about this. One of the things I feel is instead of teaching algebra, we should teach our children statistics. That's actually way more important. And I think AI is going to make that real. So.
Love it. That's great, Ravi. Thank you. So a lot of great backgrounds. Great insights so far. So I'm going to just open it up with some questions. So all of you talked about, the excitement and momentum around AI, right? There's no question. There's a ton going on there. This is about AI in action. So Haley, I'm going to go to you first. I hope you don't mind. Are there applications that you've used that are AI driven that have changed your life in some way, or that have just kind of had a significant impact on you? Like, this is super cool. This wouldn't be possible without AI. The reason I'm asking is that, it feels like we're in this cycle where there's a lot of excitement, right? But are the applications actually up and running out of the gate, driving impact yet? Is it too early, or are we seeing any of that?
So where I see a huge adoption, and I think it is impacting me and many of us, is in the digital cities, the public sector. If you think about transportation, for sure, there's an impact to all of us when we're traveling now. And I don't even think we all know that. But I can tell you from, in my career, I've been with Dell 10 years. And one of the teams I led a few years ago was the safety security team. And that was pretty traditional, cameras, watching where people were going, if something bad was going to happen. It was all safety security. Well, those use cases have now expanded. And if we take transportation as an example, it is absolutely incredible, the AI that is happening at an airport and around the world. I would say maybe not as advanced in the US as some other countries, but we're going to get there, right? But these use cases are impacting us. And I feel, knowing what I know about all those use cases, much safer when I put one of my 4 children on a plane and they're going to travel somewhere. So it's a little bit personal, but I do think that we're going to see a lot more in public. And we were just talking about that earlier this evening too, right? Because people don't think of that. I think we kind of think, oh, retail's doing really cool things with loss prevention and kind of monitoring footpaths, and we're seeing cool stuff coming out of manufacturing around predictive maintenance. But watch our governments. Our governments are going to do some pretty cool stuff.
It's actually a great example. And you made another really interesting indirect point there as well, that there has been, like, we are all running around in kind of these AI applications today and we don't even know it, right? It's like there's a focus now on generative AI for sure, but like when you think about, to your point, traffic and recommendation engines, you're on Amazon, it's like, hey, you might be interested in this as well or whatever, right? I mean, that's all driven by AI, but now it's becoming more and more top of mind. But it's a great example. Fleming, how about you? Anything in mind for you?
In fact, I was just going to continue a little bit about what we have experienced, right? So many years ago, when we used Bayesian, it would just create models and identify simple, basic good and bad. What we did in 2017 using AI, not generative AI, because generative AI is a subset of all AI, right? So what we did is we actually, instead of using rules like patterns, what we did is we actually identified parameters and behaviors of phishing emails and things like that, right? So I think cybersecurity we were doing that, and others have actually been doing the same. But what generative AI actually, when it came about, I actually got my hands on a little bit in September last year, a little bit ahead of a couple of months before it was ChatGPT was made available publicly. But the point there is that if you think about what it is capable to do now is actually having that personal conversation. Let me just explain. When you actually see something that's a phishing email, for example, click on a link, and usually we block it. I say, hey, this is dangerous, don't do it, right? So when that happens, instead of actually just kind of block it and walk away and putting recording the log, we can actually start having a conversation with that user and say, hey, this is why you were blocked, and these are the things you should watch out for. And then you can go back and forth and actually train the user. What it's really trying to do there is actually enabling something we didn't have before, because if you have to do that every time as a person and create like, I'm sure you guys do security awareness training sometimes. Do you guys do that? Raise your hands if you do that. But isn't that kind of boring? Like sometimes someone has to like get you, and once you then you forget about it, right? Maybe it's not as effective. So what we're trying to look at is actually using the real threats. The bad guys are creating these phishing links, or basically trying to steal a credential. Use that opportunity and train just in time, and using generative AI to actually enable it.
Love it. That's great.
Right? Because then you end up turning the table around. The bad guys are creating all these things. Yes, we can detect it, but guess what? We're also creating an immune system in ourselves digitally.
Sure.
And I think that is the power of generative AI now. We can actually have that personal
conversation. Yeah. Super cool. Great example. All right, we're going to switch gears. I'm looking at you, Mudu. I've got a question for you. So, out of everyone sitting up here, your company's the youngest, right? You've been around, I think you said, for 5 years, 250 employees, obviously doing a lot on the AI front. How do you think in the startup world, like AI is different from, maybe more traditional companies, right? Like when you think about, Dell or Barracuda, ServiceNow, Microsoft, kind of your mindset in your company versus larger traditional enterprise. Is there a difference in how AI is being adopted, use cases, et cetera?
But let me also comment on the earlier question that you had. I have a different answer to that because, see, when people talk about AI and what changed the Gen AI is, yes, people have been using AI, but what Gen AI has really done is you don't need to even write the basic stuff. So the old approaches that people have done is way different than if anybody has done Gen AI before 2022 moment, it's like AI and BI. It's like before Christ and after Christ. So any AI before that is pretty much dead. So when you talk about use case and these people are talking about, that's not the world that people are asking for. In Gen AI world, things have to be different. So if you are doing any AI, anybody who's implemented, throw those models out, start all over again. If you're not doing that, there's something is wrong. And I'm really telling you that. So that's what your company, Microsoft, has done. Like for Satya to cancel every Microsoft project. Look at it. Satya is the #1 company in the world. $3 trillion?
Close to it, yeah, 2.6.
For them to say
last check.
all Microsoft research and all the AI projects are gone and I'm going to put $10 billion in OpenAI. It's a commitment. It's a bet that Satya is making it. Why? Because all the work that was done, he's accepting that it should be done differently. Same thing is for each of your companies, think about the work you have to do differently. And that's what I look for. At ICERA also what we are doing is we want to apply to automate for customer service, for IT help desk, contact center, the use case that matters the most to us, that's where we're applying those.
Ravi, any comments on that?
Throw everything you did before. I can help you. Start all over again.
I actually, I mean, not everything is generative AI, right? There's time series analysis. There is, I think, so not everything is generative AI. Again, taking an extreme position, I understand as an engineer. As a leader, you sometimes do it to move the ball. Yep. But the reality is they coexist. Reality is some things are way cheaper done by a small task-specific model. So there's just reality. In real life, there's a mix. That said, for me, generative AI is a seminal moment. And I built a lot of AI, like, for example, search and machine learning on Reddit. I was part of the team. I was Apache Solar. We used to be the company bandit. So basically, my team worked with them to do it. So I've done this at that scale. But the use case that really struck me was recently I was in India. I had gone to India. My friend runs a very small business. It's like 4 of them. What they do is when NGOs go run rural education programs about financial literacy, women, programs for women, etc. Her company then is an independent company, so surveys these people and then puts together reports on the efficacy of the programs. And then, so it was in January, just ChatGPT had come. She's pretty technical. She's moved into that world. So she showed me what she does. She basically takes the spreadsheet content, sticks it into ChatGPT. She gets a summary, give me a summary. And now she has to write an 18-page report. So she'll take this summary of 5 questions, put it together, ask for an executive summary that gives her a section summary. And then she takes the sections and gets an executive summary. And now 4 days of report writing work is 4 hours. And I kind of told her, look, you can change your prompt like this and say, focus this. It's like a few things and then the summaries are better. It was fun. And I was like, just think about what it does to our day-to-day life, right? And at ServiceNow, I focus, it's really how to do this in an enterprise. But really the exciting stuff is out here. And in a way, the way I see it is what excites me is when this happens, then what kind of human potential can be unleashed? That's the part that really excites me. I think this is step 1.
Amazing, yeah. Great insights for sure. I mean, I love that example because even in like where we are at Microsoft, getting access to Copilot and everything, the time saving on very simple projects, right, is so significant. Yeah. You know, it is amazing for sure.
It's amazing. I mean, we have this and coders say it's not just time savings. It's actually, they say it's a much nicer experience. I think Copilot say, your reports say that. It's like, even experienced coders say, like, my cognitive load went down. I don't have to keep track of all these mundane things, and now I can think about the bigger things.
It's all the mundane tasks that go away. That's exactly right. And it's not like you just, accept everything. It's almost like someone sends you a rough draft, you proof it, then you hit go and, lock it as final, right? It is, in fact, a true Copilot. Carlos, earlier you talked about just kind of how the world, there's a difference in interpretation, I think, around how the world views AI. Some parts of the world view it more as a threat. I mean, any additional feedback you'd share there, and then maybe, talk a little bit about what responsible AI means to you, how you think about that?
Yes, there's a confluence of factors happening, right? We are automating parts of our daily lives that we are finding out that we don't necessarily like to be automated. And as also, we have aging population around the world that struggles to adopt new technology, and particularly all of this disintermediation that is happening. That is not only AI. A lot of it is driven by AI, but it's much more than just AI. Then they feel rightfully confused about not being able to access a person that can work a problem out, and then having to spend hours and hours in call centers, navigating web screens, and then speaking with machines that don't really understand what they're asking and what kind of problems they have. Therefore, there is that fear, I think, in the general population that this is actually not the kind of world that they were expecting as they get older. Then in the area of responsible use of AI, which is again a nascent field, it's actually very interesting to look at what China has been doing and the speed with which they have legislated, right? Their laws are well, 5 to 7 years ahead of the rest of the world. And it's because they move very fast. And it doesn't matter if you agree with them or not. It's just the fact that they are actually working very closely with technology companies. They draft laws. They do have consultative processes, by the way, but they just go very quickly. For instance, the law on generative AI, they drafted it within 4 or 5 months. They had a 45-day period for reviews. It was passed in June, and it became law on August 15th. And this is the kind of speed that we need to get used to, unless otherwise our legislative and judicial systems fall way behind the technology or the availability of the technology. And if we don't take care of this gap, people will feel that we are irresponsible. Sure. And that we're not meeting expectations, and we do not have governance processes to make sure that the benefits of AI are actually spread around society and is not concentrated in a few.
Can I comment on that?
100%.
I was expecting that, absolutely.
Of course. I don't agree with him on that. Just because, look, we are in America. I don't know about China, but we don't want too many regulations. There's already negative sentiment. We want to use AI to create jobs, drive the economy. Let politicians do their job. I'm not qualified. None of these people here are panel are qualified to create laws and regulations. We elect politicians. They create the laws, etc. By moving fast and creating these regulations, I don't know what China is doing there. I don't know that country. It's not an opaque. It's an opaque country. It's not a transparent. I don't want to be like that. I want America to be America. There's a reason we all came here. We are here to drive America to create jobs and wealth and prosperity. We don't want, and we want good regulations. We want regulations so that it doesn't do the bad to the society. But we don't, when the technology is evolving so fast, if you start worrying about every small things and worrying about all these things, you're killing the baby before it's born. There's so much negativity on AI in what's going on in society. Let's use it to the positiveness. Think glasses half full. Don't be negative. Don't be like China. Don't be like Europe. Be America. Be who we are. We're here to create jobs. We're in Silicon Valley. We're in ground zero.
Can I comment?
Sorry, I'm European, by the way.
That's right. I feel sorry for you. I'm an American.
I don't know if we're going to have this conversation, but I hear you.
Let's have the conversation.
Data management, right? Like, I think what you said in your introduction was really important, because the data and how you manage that data, it is so important. It's more important than AI. Yeah. So, while I know we should just all go and do stuff, but there's got to be benefit in what we do. We've got to have responsibility in what we're doing. There's things that we have to be mindful of, and that maybe will get another generation to support a lot of the things we're thinking about. But data management is critical, and I think we've got to have that in that conversation.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you about that, Haley, because you mentioned during the introduction, I think, your focus on kind of different verticals, right? And maybe the regulation, makes more sense in certain verticals, like healthcare, for example, versus retail. Not to say that retail is, less important, but when I think about data, right, like patient data, healthcare data, using AI in that environment, maybe that's where, there are certain pockets where you're going to see more regulation versus just kind of blanket regulation.
Yeah, of course, I agree. And I think every vertical and the use cases are different. If you take life sciences, for example, and research data, there's just so much, and it's not going to get as regulated, in my opinion. But I think also when you look at, and I'm just going to give another use case because I think the subject of this was real life use cases, a real life use case, and it might be old to you, but you know, and again, it touches the heart, I think, for a lot of people here, is in the utility space. There are electric utility vehicles that are going to be driving all over this country, and on those vehicles are going to be AI cameras that are going to be looking for substation and looking for poles that has vegetation growing on it, and to be able to use AI to be able to predict and prioritize where our resources are going is going to impact everybody in this room. And you know, we've seen some very tragic things lately, and I think that there's going to be current existing use cases in that sector that has the support it needs from a regulatory perspective, because there's great collaboration in that space. There's tremendous collaboration. Local governments, federal governments, certifications with tech companies like Microsoft, like Dell, like others. So, you know, I think healthcare might be a little bit, again, my opinion, might take a little bit longer, but I think everyone else is going to move fast.
I would agree. Robbie,
Yeah.
more regulation or less?
I think the dichotomy of we should have high risk in order to move fast, I think is wrong. I think that is a false dichotomy. It is possible to do both. Anybody who's done AI and these kinds of things know you have to be rigorous in order to move fast, but it's not an either or. I think otherwise we run the risk of swinging wildly from one to the other. I even see it in customers. They either wildly swing towards here, then they see, oh, my competitor is moving fast, so I'm going to screw this governance and move here, pardon my French. And so and you're just playing whack-a-mole, moving back and forth. There is a way, and it is possible. It's not easy. Again, like Carlos was saying, it's nascent, but it's not, given the complexity of the things you are building, this is actually not that complex a problem in my view. It is solvable. Some of the things I actually work on solving for us internally. So it is, that's my view.
Great insights, appreciate it. Fleming?
Yeah, I was going to add, I think the way I heard from Carlos is about the regulations were helping China to enable their usage of AI. I didn't think of it as a backfire into stopping it. Secondly, just using Barracuda as an example, we actually, initially when ChatGPT came out, the first thing is, oh, wow, we saw the Samsung situation, or the situation where, you know, that basically conversation related, you know, privacy is being leaked, or maybe company secrets. Okay. So the initial reaction is, okay, stop, right? So the second thing we did is actually creating a policy very quickly to say, guess what, you can use it because you can't really stop it. If you tell people to stop, people are still using it, right? So if you actually work on identifying the boundaries, like for example, using a large language model, foundation model, the way you described it is cool. I think of it as like you having a college kid, right? Just graduated, can write, can read, can sing, can draw.
Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly, right? Then what you do is you actually give him the guidance, guardrails, using prompt engineering and other things that, you know, we're working with Microsoft to make sure that conversation never leaves the tenant that you have control over, right? By doing that, actually we enabled ourselves to create our own app for our employees very quickly to allow us to actually have those conversations. You can teach them about things that we have. Just so you know, we actually have like 22,000 curated technology documents related to our products. Imagine a new employee has to read it all, right? You want to actually get it ingested so it becomes available, so it comes out in conversation, and it's safe. So that's a smaller, not the nation state level, but at a Barracuda level, we can enable it, and we're actually very blessed to have that kind of, you know, from our leadership and legal team, to have that capability. Yeah. Second thing I want to touch on is AI is no different than any other technology we touched on. Privacy is important, right? Privacy was there when we had search engines. People didn't want to. Exactly, right? So I think you've got to think about who is touching that data, how to put guardrails in there so they can actually work and make it available through generative AI, and doing it in a way that's responsible, measurable, and trackable. And then that way you actually can enable it quickly.
Can I comment on this?
Yeah, and then what we're going to do after you comment is we're going to open it up to the audience. We'll take a few minutes to.
So I think there's a different school of thoughts going on. Look, regulations are always good to have some kind of regulation. The key point though is what we have to think through, be mindful of is any regulations we do, it's only to help the society and the society that we live in. Every country is different, every laws are different. But what is important with AI though is, if you do too much regulations, they're not even let it to evolve. Look at the cloud. When it took cloud, what you started Azure in 2008, 2009. It took 15 years to reach there. AI will go through that adoption. Be patient. During this time, you don't want. The law should create, the society should do it. But we as a technology should do the best within the law of the land.
Right. You don't want to slow innovation, I think.
It's not for the innovation. I mean, I know only one thing that's good. Do the right thing there, right? Now, in terms of what I see out there, what's happening is, beyond the regulation, there's a responsible AI. Actually, if you go to our website, trust.isra.com, you can see a responsible AI that we published. Responsible AIs include bias, openness, how do you resolve it? There's a lot more than the regulation. The policy should create.
Demographics.
What you don't want to is bias, etc. But companies should not say, I want to ban ChatGPT. It's like banning ChatGPT. When I hear that, banning in the schools, we are like banning alcohol. What happened eventually? There will be all kinds of issues happen. Bootlegging will happen. Do you think kids is going to, if you ban it there, they'll go to bathroom to do it, right? It's not, I mean, there's in school some teachers saying, I can't use ChatGPT, you can't do a history class. Like, come on, you're in an open country, open society. You can't ban things. You imagine Microsoft bans something, you'll not be able to sell it. You'll go outside to sell it. You're a sales leader, right? So this concept of banning ChatGPT, use it. Every company should create policies and regulations so that it can use it to its advantage.
Exactly. But yeah, no, those are great insights. I do agree that, I mean, just banning something across the board doesn't always make a lot of sense. I agree with you on that front for sure. I think that the risk in, public schools, for example, with plagiarism and things of that nature is a whole other problem. And I think that that's what's driving some of that. But let's do this. Let's open it up to the audience. I think we've got a couple of floating mics out there, right? I think we've got a question in the back. I think Ashley. Yep, perfect.
Thank you very much. It was really interesting. I do have a question to follow on to what you said. I'm actually a visiting professor at a university. Just this week, I got an email about what are we going to do next year with ChatGPT? If we're going to give them, I mean, it's open, they could use it. As a professor, how do you now evaluate their work? They're talking about other software that we can use to see if that came out of ChatGPT. So I'd like to hear your perspective. I'm pro-technology. I live in Silicon Valley. I know how useful it is. I've seen how it proliferates, around the world. But how do you work with this now from another angle, like you talked about the universities or students?
I think
because it's not regulations anymore.
Yeah,
please.
Sorry.
Please, Ravi.
I think your definition of work has to change in school. Like what people do, I think education completely goes upside down. Like write an essay is like, why is that a skill that you're teaching someone? I mean, what should you teach?
I teach entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So I teach how to pitch to investors. So, you just go to ChatGPT.
ChatGPT does, exactly. So then what do they need? They need something, but that's not enough, right? Like if I took that, so that I think that's what changes. That what is that extra on top of it, and what is that new? So it is. I think in a way, right? It's going to be hard because I feel
it's not policy anymore.
My father is a professor, and I have some of his friends. He actually they say the whole education system actually has to be toned down and rebuilt. It's not a question of changing.
I have a different view, ma'am. So look, I went to also UCLA. I'm a PhD in UCLA. So the way in which I used to teach remote, back in the 90s when internet came, people said a similar question. Oh, internet there, you can copy, do homework from outside. It's no different. System has evolved. Back then, before internet, people could not communicate and copy the codes and look at that. So idea here is you're going to teach the class. If people go to ChatGPT and get the better answer, at the end of the day, you're going to measure them by their creativity. If you're doing a better presentation, if the pitch came through ChatGPT, through your neighbor, do you think he's not doing that without ChatGPT? I'm going to talk to my friend Ken here. So how people do it is not the end result that matters. As long as they don't do illegal things within the laws of the land, you as a professor, you want to leave the students for their creativity. Let them evolve. Let them do that.
But it requires that effort right now because technology is too fast for the teachers or anybody else to keep up with it. That's the problem.
Thank you.
Can I answer the question a little differently?
Yeah.
So we face like cyber attackers every day. So this question came out in a different panel a couple of weeks ago in Black Hat. Is how do you tell a phishing attack that was created by human versus like a GPT-based like a transformer. Actually, you can, because the result in terms of just text, just that text alone is very similar. Because if you spend enough time, you can actually do social engineering and actually get to that result. But what we have seen is the speed of actually creating those attacks came much faster. And the ways that we teach people how to fend off a particular phishing email, maybe look for grammar errors or spelling errors or things that doesn't make sense, is no longer, no longer effective, right? So the reason I want to answer it that way is that, we probably have to identify a different profile of what the attack looks like and what kind of, stats, information related, where it's coming from, and other metadata to help us detect that kind of attack. So it's always like just the weapon itself, it's going to be the same.
I'd actually like to challenge that. I'd love to challenge that view because if you're seeing in the deepfake territory, it's always an arms race between the producer and the detector. So it's really there's no end game in sight. So to answer a question, yeah, in fact, I think one of the LinkedIn posts just recently was about a student who is imperfect, obviously human, writes a nice essay, and it's judged as an AI written essay, and got I think an F grade for that one. So anonymously, the question is really, are you going to be able to judge? I think your idea that it is possible is actually flawed. It's not going to be possible. So the question is, how does society deal with that one? It's actually a pretty important existential question.
Well, yeah, that's why I was saying it is not possible to look at the result of the actual phishing email itself. You compare a machine generated versus a human generated. But what we have seen is because of GPT. You guys heard of sort of the evil queen of ChatGPT? It's called Worm GPT. Have you guys heard of that? It's a Bitcoin-operated ChatGPT, and it will do anything for you, right? So the thing is, now they can actually generate these things much faster. Instead of 10,000 phishing emails you're sending to, instead of just like 1,000, now it's probably 10,000, hundreds of thousands. So the behavior overall is what you have to look at to see. Speed has increased, so you have to have performance to. I'm not talking about that.
No, absolutely. I'm just pointing out that it's going to be an arms race, so it's not going to change.
Yeah, it'll continue to evolve for sure.
Hi, thanks a lot. This is a very interesting discussion. So I have a question. How much should we regulate AI at home? How much should we regulate AI for our kids? I'll make it a little personal. So I have a 13-year-old. He's in 8th grade. He goes to a private school. So he's got, all the subjects, science, physics, chemistry, bio, history, all of them. It's very concerning for me if my son is learning all of these subjects at school. He's got assignments. And if he comes and does these assignments with the help of ChatGPT, which I think we all know can be done in a minute, that would be very concerning to me because I don't know if he's really learning then, right? Like when we were growing up, our teachers would ask us to write an essay, right? Not today you can dictate an essay, into the laptop, but they would ask us to write it. Our handwriting improved. We were more focused, so on and so forth. If my son was doing a history project, I wouldn't want him to just take a prompt and put it in ChatGPT and get an answer. And there are, tools like Quibalt and others where you can restructure and reformat it so that you can mask it as not being a ChatGPT generated essay, and boom, then he gets an A grade. That would be sad, right? I'll give you one more example. My son's learning Python and Java programming this year. And if he was to do his homework and generate programs, just putting a prompt in ChatGPT and coming up with Java programs, what's he learning? Why am I spending so much money? So I'm just kind of curious to know what's your response.
I think some of it goes back to.
Is
he
really learning? I can work.
You need to let other people talk.
Okay, go for it if you want.
No, but the Ken should decide who talks.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say, I think it goes back to what Robbie was saying a few minutes ago about just kind of, changing the education system in and of itself. But I mean, do you have any additional thoughts on that?
Maybe Carlos can go on that.
Yeah, Carlos, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I have additional thoughts. For instance, I mean, it's a process of adapting to the technology. There are teachers that actually ask the children to generate an essay using ChatGPT and then to critique it. I know of another case of, and this is a father actually, his son, same age, was beginning to learn French. The kid was really like dead against learning the language, but he liked Spider-Man or some other thing. And then the father actually created an essay in French using the words of the homework and created a couple of paragraphs, gave it to the kid, and all of a sudden the kid was interested in learning French, right? And let me, a third anecdote. I actually was presenting to a class in Berkeley Has a couple of weeks ago, and I asked the students, how many of you use ChatGPT or a similar tool? All hands went up. Then I asked, how many of you trust it? Not one went up.
It's a good point, and I have a similar experience with my daughter, my youngest daughter. She's a senior, and I don't know if everyone remembers, but when the World Economic Forum happened in January or February, it was like every big CEO of every large company and every government leader heard about ChatGPT. And then like the world was going to change, and it was the big theme. And I remember saying to my daughter, I was telling her about it, I'm like, isn't this awesome? And she looks at me and says, you know, like we've been using that at school for weeks, right? And I said, so like all these essays, she said, but you know what? I read them. I'm learning. Yeah. I am learning more, and I'm getting more information than I would have if I had spent the time. So it was just, it kind of goes to your point about generation. The generation is, they're going to expect so much more. But the trust factor, she says the same thing. I don't trust it, so I got to read it. Like, I got to make sure it's right.
Great. If I can add one thing to it, right? I think fundamentally the skills required have changed, and almost overnight. I mean, I even, like one of the things as coming back from that to corporate, right? As an executive over many years, I've developed a certain intuition. If I want to do this, I want to make this happen, I want to build a company. This is how many people I need, this is the skill set mix, etc. That intuition is wrong today. I can see it in some of my projects. I'm like, I have the wrong mix. I've done this because I don't need, so in some ways, right? People who can make these connections and create become extra valuable. People who can empathize and connect that to real problems, human problems, extremely valuable. This middle cut and paste kind of stuff that we were doing is no longer valuable. There's a huge number of us who do that, and even as part of our lives, for example, like the example I gave. So I think the skill sets needed changes, and our education system is primarily focused on teaching that middle. Most people teach themselves the other two skill sets outside the education system. And so that's my thing.
One more question, yeah.
This gentleman has been trying to ask for a while, yeah.
Yeah, thanks guys, very interesting conversation. So I actually also am a teacher at the Stanford Business School. We have an online program and typically 500-600 students around the world. And we've had many discussions about ChatGPT as well, and we're starting to see a lot of submissions that are, some of them terrible, like we use certain acronyms and they put in the acronym and it comes out being something completely different, and they don't even spend the time to change that. So you get some pretty interesting stuff. The more interesting thing I saw was actually we have these discussion forums which you're not graded on. And all of a sudden I was seeing these 1,200 word submissions in the discussion forum. I'm like, nobody does that. You know, and they just put it. Anyway, my point is, I really sympathize with what you're saying, Ravi, about how the system has to be torn down. And if we think about education for all the time up until today, we meet together with the students. You know, there's a professor or there's an online class, and that provides input to the student. And then the student goes apart and they think and they problem solve. And we have to do it exactly opposite, right? They have to get input apart and they have to think and problem solve together. And that is the opportunity actually for AI, because I think their input becomes a lot better with AI. It can be a lot better. It's faster, they can learn more, and then they come and we think together and we problem solve together. So anyway.
No, I think, let me comment on, so I think I agree with you on that, which is AI is used as a tool to help the kids. So to your point, if your kid is doing that, you should actually celebrate. I mean, I would actually invest on your kid. Let me know when he goes to college or something. Right? Or don't go to college. Because if your kid already knows how to write the thing, I mean, that's what you want, street smartness. Who will want to write a string comparison Python code? You shouldn't be writing the code for that. You should go to ChatGPT, give the code. Now, it's up to him. You need to trust your kid to decide his future. He's going to make mistakes. He may take the answer. He may not take the answer. He may take the answer for history class, math class differently. It's the same when calculators came. When calculators came, people said, don't use calculator. You should know how to write the functions. Nobody does that anymore, right? Same thing. So I think we have to, whether you trust ChatGPT is a different issue. The idea is using it to automate your mundane tasks, whether it's to writing an essay, whether you're writing a code, function call, whether you're writing a love letter, whether you're trying to propose to somebody. There's nothing wrong using ChatGPT. If you get divorced, then it's your problem. Come on, take a guess. If you're marrying somebody, you need to have your own trust, right? We're all sitting and deciding future for it's up to you. You don't want the AI regulation, the federal government to tell you, don't use ChatGPT to propose to somebody. Like, decentralize it. It's up to me. It's my life if I want to use ChatGPT or not, right? So your kid should be a smart kid, so you should celebrate on him.
I love it. I love
Someone
it.
has a question.
Yeah, one more question, and then we're going to wrap this up. Go for it.
I'll make this as quick as possible. I've talked to a lot of people who are negative, and you've brought that up several times on the words artificial intelligence. I think the word artificial is what's fooling people. They don't understand it. You're all industry leaders. I know you don't have the magic wand to change the name, but I think something other name like software or software solutions needs to replace artificial, because that's what's turning people off. I've talked to hundreds of people about that in technology, and that's why you're getting negative feedback. But it would help the industry, and maybe you guys can, as 6 of the leaders in this industry, can at least make that suggestion if you think it would help.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. We'll close this really quickly, but Carlos, would love your thoughts on that. And then
I actually post a lot about this subject because I really dislike not artificial, I dislike the intelligence side. I'm completely serious. Okay, this is a correlative science, is what we are doing. And what we do, AI is just an application that has machine learning inside of it. You can also do it with rules, but that's kind of if then else, Boolean logic, if you will. And then we fit a function to generate a model, and we call that artificial intelligence. But this arc is a lot longer than you think. This goes back to Frankenstein, iRobot, HAL, C-3PO, R2-D2, Terminator, and then all of a sudden ChatGPT. And all of a sudden I can talk to it. So I would say that the general population has taken this term and says, oh, artificial intelligence. Oh, yeah, I know what that is. And they associate it with something that we don't do. They associate it with science fiction instead of being a correlative method to solve problems. Wonderful method, incredible method. How do you say? Amazing, outstanding, awesome, incredible, unbelievable,
super cool.
Yeah, super cool. Super cool. But there's no intelligence there. There's absolutely nothing related to the way that we think and we reason.
I've been doing AI in Bell Labs, starting at Bell Labs when neural net was a new invention. I was part of John Hopfield's group. We had Hopfield Network, if you remember, in early 80s, mid 80s. I became a chip design engineer, used a lot of techniques like optimization and learning as other sides of the coins. We do causational intelligence. There is a huge body of work called causational AI. Okay. Yeah. That's not fit to the function.
It is not, but the subject here is real world uses.
I mean,
and causational.
I like to think that I live in real world and I solve real world problem. It's not there out there. But it is solving problems. You think not even Chandrayaan, let's say the space telescope hasn't used this kind of AI, the causal AI. We can't solve this problem. It is a co-pilot in intelligence of causality as well. It's not correlation. I want this audience to say that beyond correlation, when we move, there is a causational world which we have to act on.
I completely agree with you. That's Absolutely. So correlation is the old world. That's why I call AI and BI. You have to be in the causality world. Actually, Yuria Pearl got the Turing Award for causality. That whole causality is what makes the AI Whether, sir, whether you want to call it AI or not, I'm not the person to decide. But I think the train left the station in the AI. You can try to change it, but it's too late to change it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if folks want to hang out afterwards and have these follow-up conversations, there's a great opportunity. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. I want to thank the panel. Great conversations tonight. And quite honestly, I'm glad that some of these topics just invoked people to lean in, show some emotion, et cetera. So really want to, first of all, thank all the panelists for tonight. Really appreciate it. Great session. And then thank you to ACG again for hosting the event tonight. It's fantastic.
Did you guys enjoy it? Is it better than the presidential debate yesterday? Yes? I get a like in Facebook?
Oh, it was entertaining.
Good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Huge thank you to everyone on the panel. Thank you
I
all
get a
for
like.
attending.
Yeah, it'll get even more fun if you have a couple glasses of wine and talk to these guys. So,
Oh, picture, okay.
Oh,
Not with this. I did not like holding that.
smart. Thanks for being the center, maybe.
Yeah, I think you should be in the center.